Instead of trying to make content, be the content. Say what you think, say what you feel, and you're not gonna make everyone happy. The goal is to provide value, but the most important thing is that you're consistent and you're doing it a lot and you're not trying to make it, you are it. And that's when you start to just be you. All I wanted to do was make money, right? If I were selling you something, it was to sell you so I could make money, period. Even though I might have believed in the product, like I just didn't have the right energy. So anyway, I recognized how that made me feel. So I said, man, I'm gonna quit my job and go help people, start a training business, go compete with the likes of you and Grant and John Maxwell and all these big names that were out there, because in my mind I had better content, still do in my mind, but but I went out there to basically, show people how to make money and make an impact in people's lives. And then I got out there and it wasn't working, and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. And I'm like, dude, this is the craziest thing. I just used to do it all the time and now it's not working. So I said, well, what did I used to do? And so I came up with the 4 keys to training: good content, repetition, practice, accountability. Realized that I just was bringing the good content. There was no repetition, no practice, no accountability. And I was living out of a hotel. And if I wanted it to work, man, I had to figure something out. And at this time, there was the internet just came out. It was still the World Wide Web. Yep. It was still back when everyone said www first. And by the way, if you still say that, well, you don't need to. You just go with the name and that's it. But it was way back then, and so there would obviously nothing existed. So I decided I had to build something, and I wanted to emulate what I did in real life, and it had to be able to track, measure, and all that shit that it does. And so I invented it, and then thought that was going to be what made me rich. And so it didn't, because I kept running into people saying, well, we use, Tony Robbins. We use Grant Cardone and Joe Verdi and John Maxwell. And I kept saying, I'm better. And they're like, well, yeah, we're already deep into their shit. And so I said, so let me ask you a question. If I had them on my platform, would you want it? Would you buy it? And they said, oh yeah, if you had them, we'd get it. And I said, well, hold on a minute. And then I just went and started closing the experts on the technology, because I knew they had the same problem. I mean, they all want to make an impact and teach people what they know, but they don't realize that you need good content, repetition, practice, and accountability. My system was built on that. So I just white labeled it, started selling it to them, and took what I call a fraction of the action, or a sliver to deliver, little tad for Brad. And they started selling everybody. And I'm like, well, shit, I don't need to be the star. I'll just chill back here and help them. So I just spent the next 20 years helping them build their brands and their training companies. And that's how it kind of began.
Well, I want to unpack something he said, because I always say reading a book is not going to change your life. Right? Seeing a person speak is not going to change your life. Being coached and trained by that person could change your life.
Properly,
So think of one as exposure. And this is one way you describe it, right? You would go in and train or coach a car automotive group, and then you would leave.
Well, training and coaching are 2 different things.
Yeah. How do you define those?
Training is good content, repetition, practice, and accountability. I got to say the same shit over and over and over and over, and then practice and hold you accountable. Coaching is, what's the problem? What aren't you getting? Like I can coach you on a call, and we're not covering the training. Like you should have already done that in the training system. Once you've done that, now I can coach you. So a lot of people, they think coaching is training. Well, it's not, and it's hard to do that. You coach by helping them get better, and it's one-on-one or group like this. Like I could coach this group, but in order to train this group, we'd have to be here for 2 months. And I have to say the same things, and everyone learns individually. So like, he might be like, dude, you said this yesterday, but she's like, what were you saying yesterday? So it's like, I built a system to train you, okay? Now, after that, now I can coach you. So the difference is, one is repetition, practice, and the other one is kind of coaching. So everybody needs a good coach in life.
I've heard everybody does need a good coach in life. Thank you for that. do you consider yourself, because you've kind of evolved over the years to where a lot of people want you to coach them.
Yeah.
And I remember being in Brad's office one day, and a guy called in and said, I want you to coach me. And he's like, well, I don't coach people. Like Coach Burt coaches people. You should hire Coach Burt. He's like, no, I really want you. And he was like, well, I just come up with this idea, this plan, and I do have be Brad Lee's buddy. And you can be Brad Lee's buddy for $100,000. And the guy said, where do I wire the money? And I go, you're going to regret that decision right there, brother.
I did too.
Like it sounds good on the front end, but for $100,000, he's going to want to hang out a lot. Okay. So let's talk about, you did Lightspeed you're still doing Lightspeed, and you consider that kind of the core business.
That was, yeah.
Okay. And then at some point, and listen, at any given day, you go to Lightspeed. Number one, it's probably one of the coolest offices you'll ever go to. And he's got rhinoceroses everywhere. And I'm like, what's up with all the rhinos, man? And there's Crystal, and he said to me, have you ever tried to stop one? And but it's a super cool office. You go there and you just want to hang out all day long. And I remember just going there and hanging out, and I was like, is this how you get business? Like, it seems so relaxed and everybody just hangs out with each other all day. And I'm used to over here prospecting and hitting my touches. But on any given day, there's no telling who you're going to see there. And those people are coming to build this system. So for many, many years, that's what it was, right? And then at what point did you flip and go, I could be a brand, and I'm starting to have influence, and I could monetize that influence? Or is that how you thought about it?
Well, no. Where's my wife? She's around here somewhere. I told her, I got to build a brand. And she said, oh, you're not going to be one of those guys. And I said, yeah, it's important. And the reason a brand's important, especially now with AI, guys, I mean, information's everywhere. Like, I could teach you anything anybody can, but if you don't have a brand, it's not as effective. So you want to build a personal brand with an audience. And so I recognized it really just watching, helping and watching everybody that I was on my platform kind of do it. And ultimately, I just saw the power that it had. It was like crazy. Yeah. And it is crazy, the brand. Like, I'll probably do 12 million just from my brand. Yeah. And it's like, it comes all directions. If I'm talking to some of you guys, there's business deals in here that I could get just because you're here, just because the brand, and it's like, boom, deal flow, business. Next thing you know, it's like, dude, this is powerful. And not only that, I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of times, most people have to pay to get the attention. But when you have a brand, you can just put it out there. And next thing you know, there's a room full of people. So that's what it's all about. And everyone has a brand currently. Like, you have one, just nobody knows about it. Yeah, I mean, we all have one. And really, it's just your reputation, But you have to get it out there. You have to put it out there, and you have to consistently put it out there. And then once you do, you start to realize, like, that's more valuable than what you were doing. I used to, put it out. For a while, it didn't do anything. And that's because I was trying to be like everybody else, and I was trying to, like, just say intelligent shit and, get my pictures done and then say, look how good I look, and it wasn't really working. And then one time my camera guy kept pestering me to make content. And I said, bro, just turn the camera on. I am the content. And I was just being a smart ass. And he turned the camera on, and I didn't realize he actually did. And then I started just doing what I do and saying what I say. People would walk in, kids would come in, wife would call, customers would call, employees would walk in. And they started chopping that up and dropping that. And that's literally when things turned around. So I always tell people, instead of trying to make content, be the content. And then a lot of people are like, what does that mean? It's like, dude, if you think you're whatever you say you are, then you'd be doing it all day long, right? Yeah. So when you watch me on social media, if you do, that's what I do all day long. That's what he's talking about. All you do is sit around and shoot the shit and talk, and it's like, yeah, I build relationships, because relationships are the key. Every dollar you've ever received came from a relationship of some kind. So you just have to build relationships and value relationships. And most people want the money that comes from them, when in reality, if you choose money over relationships, soon you're going to have neither. So you focus on being yourself and not afraid to put it out there. Say what you think, say what you feel, and you're not going to make everyone happy. That's for sure. For years, I didn't make my wife happy. She goes, "Take that down." And I said, "Take what down?" "That post you just did where you said you have a magic floor." And I'm like, "Well, I do." You guys hear the magic floor? Yeah. So I got a floor in my house where if I throw shit on it, it somehow gets hung up and folded, and it's the craziest thing ever. And then I started getting all the hate, and and she saw the hate that I was getting. She's like, "Take that down." I'm like, "Why?" "Well, Johnny 309 doesn't like it." And so I forget, maybe a podcast or on a stage somewhere, and someone mentioned, how do you think that makes you look towards your wife? And I said, "Don't worry, she's got a magic purse." But at the end of the day, the point is if I would have worried and took it down, that video got like 40 million views.
Yeah.
And then some people hate me, some people don't. Well, I'm not looking for the people to hate me. I'm just looking to put out some entertainment, some value, maybe make you smile or whatever. And if you don't like me, that's okay. And most people, they don't have that opinion. And the way I got it is I realized you're not going to make everyone happy. Would y'all agree? Yes. So if you can't make everyone happy, who are you going to pick? Well, most people, they're my wife, my friends. Well, I just put my name on that list, and then it became pretty obvious the right choice. I'm going to make me happy, and I'm not going to worry about making everyone else happy because I can't. You know what I mean? I can't make you happy. You can only make you happy. So I just started choosing me, and that's when it became, real and authentic, and that's when people started to respond. So if you're selling real estate or you're a farmer out on your farm, let me see you farming. You know what I'm saying? If you're pissed off the chickens ain't laying no eggs, let me see it. And then tell me what kind of chicken that is and where I can pick one up, and just make sure you in your mind you're thinking, the goal is to provide value. So I don't want to see your sandwich, but if you told me how you made it and where to get it and what to avoid and where to get the best deals, and now there's value with your sandwich. So it's value that you're trying to give. But the most important thing is that you're consistent and you're doing it a lot and you're not trying to make it. You are it. And then the real you comes out if you're not afraid, which most people are. They're afraid because they need everyone else's validation. Most people wouldn't even sit here and talk to you guys because what if they think I'm stupid? They need your validation. And if you do the work and validate yourself, you don't really look for validation from other people. And that's when you start to just be you. And then when you're you, people are like, "Dude, I like that guy," or "I hate that guy." But either way, I don't care. At the end of the day, man, you just gotta get rid of what's called allodoxophobia. Every time I say that, people look it up. Look it up. It's real. Allodoxophobia, the fear of other people's opinion.